I want to start tonight by correcting the title of my own program. It says 72 hours. It was faster than that. The first report that the Duchess of Sussex was in talks for a role in a Netflix series appeared on Thursday. By Saturday morning, a journalist in New York published a column saying the casting had been withdrawn, somewhere between 48 and 60 hours. An entire career development, from exclusive to obituary, over a single weekend. And here is the fact that almost nobody has put at the top of their coverage, and it is the fact that changes everything. The season she was reportedly cast in does not exist. Netflix has not commissioned a third series of The Gentleman. It has not been greenlit. Season 2 has not even been broadcast yet. It goes out on the 3rd of September. So what we watched this weekend was a woman being removed from a part in a season of television that nobody has agreed to make by parties who have never confirmed the part was offered in the first place, and the British press treated it as a national event. I am Richard, and this is Richard Valentin. Tonight I am going to take you through this hour by hour, because I think it is one of the strangest media episodes I have watched in years, and because I think there is a serious question buried underneath it that has almost nothing to do with the Duchess of Sussex. I will tell you now, so nobody feels ambushed 20 minutes in. A large number of you do not like this woman. You are entitled to that, you have your reasons, and I am not going to spend half an hour telling you that you are wrong to feel it. But I am going to ask you one question at the end, and it is not about her. It is about a principle, and I think it applies to you and to me as much as it applies to a duchess. Let us build the timeline first. Wednesday, the 19th of August, in the evening. The Telegraph and the Sun report that Harry and Meghan are moving back to Britain. Thursday, the 20th. The story is everywhere. Thursday into Friday. Deadline, which is one of the two most respected trade publications in the entertainment industry, runs an exclusive. It reports that Meghan Markle has had preliminary conversations about a role in the potential third season of Guy Ritchie's Netflix series, The Gentleman. Note the words in that sentence. Preliminary conversations. Potential third season. Deadline was careful. Friday the 21st. The Hollywood Reporter, which is the other of the two, goes further. It reports that she was in advanced discussions to join season 3. Also Friday, ITV News reports that she has been offered the role. And ITV added a detail I want you to hold on to, because it is the most consequential line published all week, and it has been almost entirely ignored. ITV said it understood that Harry and Meghan had been considering a move to the United Kingdom for several months, and that this opportunity was enough to tip the scales. Hello Magazine picks the story up. So does the BBC, reporting that she is in talks. And then Saturday morning, the 22nd of August, Tina Brown publishes a column on her Substack, which she calls Fresh Hell. She writes that she learned that morning that the casting has been withdrawn. She says the backlash in Britain was so intense that it became untenable to go forward. And she adds that this does not bode well for a British acting comeback. That is it. That is the source. Not Netflix, not Guy Ritchie's production company, not the Duchess's representatives. One journalist on a personal Substack on a Saturday morning saying she had learned something. Within hours it was on Forbes, Fox News, The Guardian, Parade, TMZ, UPI, The Hollywood Reporter, and about 400 aggregator sites. By Sunday, it was a settled fact in the public mind. Now. Let me be scrupulously fair about Tina Brown, because there is a version of this program where I sneer at a Substack, and that version would be lazy and wrong. Tina Brown is not a blogger. She was editor-in-chief of Vanity Fair. She was editor-in-chief of The New Yorker. Those are two of the most demanding editorial jobs in the English language, and she held both of them. She wrote the Diana Chronicles in 2007 and the Palace Papers in 2022, and both were serious, best-selling works about this family. When the Hollywood Reporter went back to her about her claim, she said she stands by her reporting. That matters. A journalist of that standing does not casually stake her name on something she has not been told by somebody she trusts. So I am not here to tell you she made it up. I do not believe she did. But I am going to tell you the 3 things that a careful person has to weigh alongside it. First, she is a royal author with a body of work and a perspective. That is not an accusation. It is simply a fact about the position she writes from. Every royal author has one. I have one. You have one. Second. She reported what she was told. Her source told her the casting was withdrawn and told her why. She has no way of independently verifying the motive she was given, and neither do we. Third, and most importantly, nobody has confirmed it. Not Netflix. Not Guy Ritchie. Not the Duchess. The Hollywood Reporter contacted her representative and contacted the agency that represents both her and Ritchie and received no response. Silence is not a denial, but it is not a confirmation either, and in this business people frequently confirm things very quickly when it suits them to. Now here is the part of this week that I found genuinely startling, and I have not seen it covered on any British television program. There is a dissenting account, and it goes considerably further than caution. The media correspondent Neil Sean has said the entire story was a total fabrication from the beginning. Not that the casting was withdrawn, that there was never a casting. Now, I am going to be straight with you. I do not know whether Neil Sean is right. He has been right about things, and he has been wrong about things, as have all of us. He is not a wire service, and this is not the Associated Press. But his dissent belongs in the record because it points at a possibility that the entire British press has simply skated past this weekend. Consider the structure of what we are looking at. A story appears that a woman is in early talks for a role in an uncommissioned season of a television program. 2 days later, a story appears saying that role has been taken away because the public did not like it. At no point in that sequence has anybody with actual authority over the show said anything at all. It is entirely possible that both stories are true. Trade publications do not usually invent castings out of nothing, and Deadline and The Hollywood Reporter are extremely good at what they do. It is also possible that there were early conversations which never got anywhere near a decision, and that the second story turned an ordinary Hollywood non-event into a public humiliation. Talks that go nowhere are the single most common occurrence in that industry. 90% of casting conversations end in nothing. If every one of them were reported as a rejection, no actor alive would have a reputation left. So let us hold both possibilities open, because the honest position tonight is that we do not know which one we are in. Now let me give you the commercial background, because I think it explains a great deal about why this story had the shape it had. The Sussexes signed a deal with Netflix in 2020, shortly after moving to California. It was widely reported at around $100 million, and at the time it looked like one of the biggest talent deals the streaming industry had ever done with people who were not, in the conventional sense, entertainers. What did it produce? The docuseries Harry and Meghan in 2022, which was enormous. A series called Polo. And with Love, Meghan, the lifestyle series, which ran for 2 seasons and a holiday special, 17 episodes in total. And here is where I want to be fair, because the narrative that everything she touches fails is not supported by the numbers. With Love, Meghan drew 5.3 million views in the first half of 2025, and it reached Netflix's global top 10. It received a nomination for Outstanding Lifestyle Program. That is not a hit by the standards of a prestige drama. But 5.3 million views and an awards nomination is not a humiliation either, and anybody telling you it was a total failure has not looked at the figures. What is true is that the commercial arrangement got smaller. Last year, the overall deal was downgraded to a first-look agreement, which in industry terms is a substantial demotion. An overall deal means the studio funds you. A first-look deal means they get to see your ideas before anybody else does, which is worth considerably less. Then, this year, Netflix opted not to renew the original arrangement, and the streamer exited its involvement in her lifestyle brand. So the picture, as of the summer of 2026, is of a commercial relationship that has been narrowing for 2 years, which makes the ITV line about tipping the scales rather important. If you are a person whose American commercial ventures have been contracting, and an acting role appears in a British production, and you have been weighing a move to Britain for months anyway, then that role is not a whim. It is the thing that makes the arithmetic work. And if that role then evaporates within 48 hours of becoming public, you have moved your family across the Atlantic, and the reason you moved has disappeared before you have unpacked. I want to be careful. ITV reported that the opportunity tipped the scales. ITV did not report that it was the sole reason, and the same report noted the couple had been considering the move for months. But if even part of that is right, then this weekend was not a celebrity gossip story. It was a woman watching a professional plan collapse in public, in real time, in a country she is about to live in. Now let me talk about the part almost nobody in Britain talks about, which is that this woman was an actress, not a reality personality, not an influencer, a working, jobbing, union card actress. She played Rachel Zane in Suits for 7 seasons. 7 seasons is a very long run. Most actors never get 1 season of anything. She was on that program from 2011 until 2017, when she left the profession on becoming engaged to Prince Harry. I want to give that its proper weight, because I think the British conversation about her has almost entirely forgotten it. She had a career. She gave it up. Not for a hobby, not for a project, but because the institution she was marrying into does not permit working royals to take commercial acting roles. That is not a rule she invented, and it is not one she could have negotiated around. So she stopped at 35, which for an actress is not a convenient age to stop. And now, 9 years later, she is reported to have been considering a return, and within 2 days it is reported as gone. I do not say any of that to make you like her. If you have decided about her, nothing I say in a video is going to shift that, and I am not going to insult your intelligence by trying. I say it because I think the working actress is a real person who existed before any of this, and she has been almost completely erased from how this story is discussed. There is one more detail I find quietly telling. She reportedly filmed a cameo as herself in an Amazon comedy called Close Personal Friends with Brie Larson and Jack Quaid, a cameo as herself. That is the version of acting that has been available to her, playing the famous person. The Gentleman would have been different. That is a character in a drama. That is going back to work. Now let me give you the other side properly, because a lot of you have been waiting, and you are owed it. Here is the case that none of this deserves sympathy, stated as strongly as I can state it. First, nobody is entitled to a job. Casting is not a right. Producers weigh whether a performer will help or hurt a project every single day for every single role. If a production concluded that this particular casting would generate more heat than the show could carry, that is not persecution. It is a commercial judgment of exactly the kind the industry makes about everybody. Second, she has spent 6 years commercializing the family. That is the argument I hear most from people who write to this channel. The Oprah interview, the Netflix documentary, the book, which was his and not hers, but which the public tends to file under the same heading. If you build a business on the story of a family, you cannot then complain when the public associates your name with that story and reacts accordingly. Third, public reaction is not censorship. Nobody banned her. No government stopped her. If a production changed its mind because it read the room is made of ordinary people entitled to their opinion. That is not a mob. That is a market. Fourth, and this is the one I find hardest to answer, she chose this arena. She was not a private citizen dragged into public life. She married into it knowingly, and after leaving it, she chose to remain a public figure and to monetize that position. Publicity is not something that only happens to her. It is her trade. Those are 4 serious arguments. I have not straw-manned any of them, and I do not think any of them are stupid. So now let me put the question I actually want to ask you, and it is not really about her. If Tina Brown's account is accurate, then what happened this weekend is this. A production considered hiring someone, the public reacted badly, and the production decided against it because the reaction made the hire untenable. Strip the names out. A person was going to be given work. The public objected. The work was withdrawn. Now, some of you will say that is simply how public taste works and always has, and that an audience that will not watch is a fact of life for any performer. And some of you, including some of you who cannot stand this woman, will feel a small unease about it. And I think that unease is worth listening to, because the principle, once established, does not stay where you put it. If public dislike can remove someone from a job before they have done the job, then the question is, who decides how much dislike is enough and who gets to be next? That principle has been applied to people on the left and to people on the right, to actors and to academics and to ordinary employees whose names were on a screenshot for one weekend and who lost everything. I suspect nearly everybody watching this has, at some point in the last decade, been furious about that happening to somebody they thought did not deserve it. I am not telling you what to conclude. I am telling you that I noticed my own reaction this weekend, and my own reaction was inconsistent, and I thought it was worth admitting that out loud. Now, the gaps. What we do not know, which as usual is most of it. We do not know whether an offer was ever made. Deadline said preliminary conversations. The Hollywood Reporter said advanced discussions. ITV said offered. Those three things are not the same thing, and no confirmation exists for any of them. We do not know whether anything was withdrawn, because you cannot withdraw something that was never extended, and nobody has established that it was. We do not know who made the decision, if a decision was made. Netflix commissions the show. Guy Ritchie and his production company make it. Those are different parties with different interests, and Brown's column does not identify which one is supposed to have acted. We do not know whether there will be a third season at all. This is the one that keeps getting left out. Season 2 premieres on the 3rd of September. Netflix will decide about a third season based on how Season 2 performs, probably in October or November. If they do not commission it, the entire argument was about nothing. We do not know what the Duchess thinks, because she has not said a word, and I would gently point out that this is the behavior people have spent 6 years demanding of her. And we do not know whether this changes the move. The children are enrolled in school. School enrollments are not reversed because a television role fell through. So what should you watch for? 3 things, and as always, concrete enough that you can check whether I was right. 1. Watch for a denial. If any of this were substantially wrong, the party with the strongest incentive to say so is the production, because being seen to drop performers under public pressure is bad for a company that needs actors to trust it. If a week passes with no denial from anybody, that is meaningful. 2. Watch the 3rd of September. Season 2 goes out. If it performs, a third season becomes likely, and the question of who is in it becomes real rather than hypothetical. 3. Watch what she does next. If there is another British project reported within a month, then this weekend was a wobble. If there is nothing for 6 months, then Tina Brown's final line about what this means for a British comeback will look like the most accurate sentence written all week. Let me finish with this. I have spent 30 minutes on a story about a job that may never have been offered, in a season that has not been commissioned, of a program whose current season has not yet been broadcast. That is genuinely absurd, and I want to acknowledge my own part in the absurdity. I made this program. You are watching it. The machine that turned a Substack paragraph into a global news event includes this channel, and I would be a hypocrite to pretend otherwise. But I do not think the absurdity is the point. Underneath it, there is something quite ordinary and quite sad, and it is the thing that made me want to talk about this at all. Somebody gave up their work for a marriage. That happens in this country 10,000 times a year, and it happens overwhelmingly to women. And it happened for generations before anybody thought to call it a sacrifice. Some of you watching gave up a career for a husband, or a wife, or a child, or a parent who needed caring for. Some of you never got it back. And what everybody who has done that discovers, sooner or later, is that going back is far harder than leaving. The industry moved. The contacts retired. You are older. And there is a version of you, the one who kept working, who exists somewhere, and who you occasionally think about at 3 in the morning. Whatever you think of this particular woman, that specific ache is not a royal ache. It is one of the most common experiences in ordinary British life. So here is my question tonight, and I read them all. Did you give up work for your family? And if you did you ever go back? Did you try? What happened when you tried? I would rather hear about that than about a Netflix series, and I suspect you would rather tell me. If this was useful, subscribe. Everything here is sourced, and tonight almost nothing was confirmed, which is precisely why I said so at the beginning rather than at the end. I am Richard. Thank you for your company. Look after each other.